Well, welcome aboard the News Review. We have quite a number of papers here, and we're going to dig into them so you get on top of all that is happening. I have the Daily Graphic, the Daily Dispatch, and the Business Finder newspaper this morning. Akable, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm well. You?
Great.
So which papers do you have?
I have the Daily Guide, the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Statesman, and the BNFT newspaper.
Okay. Would you like to start with the headlines for us?
Yes, I'll start from the front page of the Daily Guide this morning. Akufo-Addo caged over naked pictures. It's on the front page, and it has a photograph of her almost naked on the front page. Yeah. For example, for trial agenda again.
She's in a bikini.
Yes, she is almost naked, like I said. And the story relates to being caged over naked pictures. 13 perish in Yape, Accra accidents, and no galamsey politics in the bush. That is coming from President Akufo-Addo. The back page has Kotoko receive Hisense products. Moreno faces sack if, and Tuchel touches Porto coach. It's also another story on the back page of the Daily Guide this morning.
Okay, I don't know whether you wouldn't have wanted to do the middle spread.
The middle spread, okay.
The paper as well.
Yes, it has that story about Akufo-Addo in the middle spread. There's also this story about I did not have sex with Davido's Chioma. And Nigerians beg Akufo-Addo to open shops. Inflation remains 10.3% in March. And global Momo accounts reach 1.2 billion in 2020. Government advised to invest borrowed funds. It's coming from Professor Peter Korte, also in the center spread of the Daily Guide.
So, free Akufo-Addo, just because you brought it up, is trending on Twitter at #1. And I know you'll be delving into that story, but what do you make of this? Because she pleaded.
Yes.
She actually put in a guilty plea, and she's being processed. Now it's being checked whether she's carrying a seed, and if not, well, I guess the law will take its own course.
Exactly.
What do you make of it? DKB, I hear, is criticizing the NGO spearheading the prosecution of Akufo-Addo.
We all condemned her when that picture, went viral, and I remember there were calls for her to be prosecuted. I remember it so well, and it's strange that that prosecution has taken place, and interestingly, she has admitted to the crime. So there was not a full trial. You admit that you committed the offense, and so the court now has to proceed to sentence you, and the court decides that, okay, look, we want to check whether you are pregnant or not, because that influences the sentencing as well, and we are doing that. And so people are comparing the fact that she has been convicted to other persons they believe are criminals who are walking free. We can't
mention the names, but some have said that there are people who have dealt in shady businesses, made people lose a lot of money. They are walking free.
Exactly.
And you want to convict.
But the point really is that we are either a nation of laws, i.e. rule of law thrives, or we are not a nation that rule of law thrives. Rule of law simply means that when someone falls contrary to the law, it is applied. And so if some criminal somewhere has committed a crime that you know of, you report it. And if you are referring to the ones that we know of in the public space, it's also going through the process. The individuals involved have pleaded not guilty, and the prosecution is going. And so this is the difference. And if we think that we should take the law off the books to allow people to be posting nude photos of themselves and others around, that is a fair discussion.
There are laws on indecent exposure and all of that.
Sometimes so if we are against the laws, it's fine. But we shouldn't mix it up.
I think as well, Joe, that we need examples like this for people to become more aware, because we're getting to the point where I have nothing against Akufo-Addo. A young woman, she's even talking about going back to school and all of that. I feel for her. But the reality also is that if we don't control some of these things, at some point, it could degenerate, and then now it becomes very difficult to tackle the problem. My heart goes out to her, but if there is a sentencing, I'm sure a lot of people would.
It's a misdemeanor. She cannot be handed jail time beyond 3 years, and the fine will not go beyond 6,000 cedis. So it's something small. Once she's admitted to the offense, that influences sentencing too. So the court will take all that into consideration. But it's an act that we all condemn. So let's see how that goes.
Let's check out the Daily Graphic newspaper. Galamsey fight demands consensus. That's according to Mr. President. And he's given them 2 days to arrive at some sort of conclusive, should I say, process or roadmap as far as dealing with this menace is concerned. And there are 12 key areas they've identified that they feel ought to be tackled. I feel, when it comes to the Galamsey fight now, I want to see more. The rhetoric, the talk shop, it's been done over and again. And I'm really not for it right now. I'm just waiting to see the effects. I want to see the turbidity levels of our water bodies go down. I want to see our water bodies return to health, some very good health. I want to see these shangfangs and the rest no longer in operation. I want to see a crackdown on and it's not just sometimes we say, oh, Chinese. There are so many, even in the West African sub-region, there are so many of our neighboring countries that are having their citizens coming to Ghana and do this, and they are able to get away with it. There are members of our political elite, leaders doing it. And I think Mr. President alluded to it a bit yesterday when he said that it shouldn't be a fight where maybe one side of the political divide thinks this. But look, the very people who, his own party, if we were to check, I am not stating categorically, but would we not find people in there who are maybe behind some of these things? So I think the fight is really out there, and it takes strong leadership. I don't think in the first term he was able to do what he said he would. If he fails this time, then I guess I don't know what we can do about Galamsey, really.
Yeah,
I really don't know. And the Ochehene had some strong words recently to say.
Yes, about the community mining that was also ongoing. I mean, it's what is a bit confusing is, I mean, I understand why they would want a stakeholders engagement, because obviously the stakeholders, some of them are involved in the illegal mining, like you pointed out. That is the only justification for the discussion. Either than that, there's no basis for the discussion. We cannot say that we are going to meet people and discuss how to end armed robbery. I mean, armed robbery is illegal, so you just crack down. But we tried using force, it didn't work. The soldiers, some and policemen, some became complicit in protecting the illegal miners, and some were taking bribes. All those stories came out, were confirmed by officers who were part of the operation, among others. And so it tells you how that fight didn't go as well as we all expected it to. The president disagrees, says they made some modest gains. There's still more to be done. That's how come they are having this discussion. I look forward to the document that will come from that deliberation and what differently we intend to do going forward. And that may give me a bit of hope about this whole fight against illegal mining.
The lights go dim. That's the motorway in focus. But maybe before that, Agogo-Hene calls for investment in human resource. Then 16 lives lost in 3 accidents.
Yeah.
It's getting scary. And yesterday we saw that one at Tesano, which ties into this story on page 16. The lights go dim. Should we do a touchscreen analysis of the lights going dim? So, motorway in focus, and just briefly, driving on the 19-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway at night is hellish, as street lights installed recently have failed to provide the expected visibility. About 2/3 of the stretch has been fixed with solar-powered street lights, but motorists are still complaining about poor visibility, especially on the outer lanes. When was the last time you used that stretch?
Not too long ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, but I've not driven on the motorway in the evening. And I mean, it's for good reason.
You never do it?
Yes, it's for good reason. I just don't want to do that because
it's scary at night.
Even during the day, you know, there are portions of the road that have issues and they've been fixed with concrete, so not very smooth. And so even during the day, I struggle to see that very well. And so I know what the challenge could potentially be in the evening.
And the new patches and all, if you're not careful.
Exactly. So I avoid it in the evening completely. I don't want to risk it. I mean, this road in its current state needs proper lighting, just like you are in a small room somewhere. That is the best form of lighting to ensure that the road is safe.
And especially for people like you and me, people like us who use glasses and all of that. There's another dynamic when other people, because of that, so some people have their headlights on, I mean, very high, and that also creates problems for other motorists. I link it to what happened in Tesano yesterday, because apparently, if you look at the stretch, I mean, you don't even need to be told. It's very poorly lit. And so that is why this truck driver, of course, he may have had his own, overspeeding or something, but he couldn't even make out the truck that was parked there, though the truck also had not done the right thing with a warning triangle or something. But he couldn't see. Another motorbike also came, couldn't see. That tells you there's a grave problem. So you can fault these motorists and all of that, but there was another problem, fundamental problem, which is poor street lighting, which ultimately I feel culminated in this bit. And it's a sad situation. I think that will be it for, or should I just, there's something I saw that I wanted to take a look at. Of course, the lives being lost, 16 lives lost in 3 accidents. Should time allow us, I would get into that one. There's also this one about MTN blocking 7,000 agents on page 26. Let's get into other papers. Should we have enough time, I'll do those stories.
Yes, so let's do the Ghanaian Times now. The Ghanaian Times says, at the National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining, President slams political actors for politicizing Galamsey. And Pokwasi interchange under threat by reckless drivers, story on page 24. And court to determine fate of Ekuapim Polo tomorrow. 15 perish in road crashes on Buipe Tamale, Achimota, Tesano highways. That is on the front page. The back page quickly has Tema Metro NCC intensifies COVID-19 education and AGRA to enhance women's performance in agribusiness on the back page of the Ghanaian Times. The center spread has the president signing the book of condolence in memory of Prince Philip, and pursue economic diplomacy as tool for transformation is coming from the foreign minister, and president slams political actors. That story from the dialogue yesterday is also in the center spread. Then GJA General Secretary appeals against announcement of nomination fees. Okay. On the GJ elections there.
Right, so let's check out some more stories, this time from the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Akufo-Addo's fight against illegal mining almost cost him 2020 victory. That's according to the sector minister, Samuel Abu Jinapor. Osaya Koto and Oboshi Saikofi get top appointments, of course, together with Yao Osafo Mafu, who is now a special advisor, senior advisor, if you like. Then Jean Mensah's EC organized 2020 elections met international standards. That's according to the EU observer team. Javier Nart has been speaking, but he also made mention of some things that did not go well, things that have characterized our elections over time. On page 5, Obeda Samoa on the Kutu Champon NRC and the Unigov concept. There's a lot in there. When you turn to the back page, the reiteration of what Mr. President has been saying, I'm determined to enforce laws against Galamsey. So that's it with the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
The Daily Statesman now, government procures coaches for Tema Akosombo rail line. And let's do away with partisanship in Galamsey fight. President urges nation. 800,000 Ghanaians take COVID-19 jabs. The Ghana Health Service discloses. You took the first jab, right?
Pardon me?
The COVID jab, you took the first one,
yes.
The vaccine. So you have one more to go very soon.
I have one more to go.
Yeah, I think it should be sometime later this month.
Question is when it will be available for me to take.
Well, it will be available, I mean, once the time is due.
I think we took another stock of, is it 300,000?
Yeah, we've taken delivery of a number of vaccines since the first one came in. And so, I mean, the expectation is that there is enough available for those who take the second jab.
May try my next shot. I'm waiting for the next one.
Yes.
The Business Finder newspaper now. Anti-Galamsey fight revived. President hopeful national consensus will promote responsible, viable, small-scale mining. But Mr. President, let's do a little more than hope. Let's actually work. Hope is good. But let's work and ensure that what we want, we get. GIPC UNDP launch investment platform. Let's all rally behind after. That's according to Dr. Frederick Mugisha, UNDP economic advisor. In the center spread of the paper, Finance Ministry debunks downgrade reports. You know, in recent times, there was that purported IMF report, and the country director came out to say it wasn't true. But when I interacted with Honorable Seth Tekpe, I should say, former finance minister, he mentioned that fiscal, deployment, or the way we are looking in terms of our borrowing and all of that, if we are not careful, it will have very severe ramifications, and we ought to take a look at that in respect of the same, categorization. But I think every June, July, 6-month period, they come through with this. So we'll see what the finance, the IMF, I should say, would come to in that respect. That's it for the Daily Dispatch. The Business Finder, I should say. And
the last one for me will be the BNFT, entice vaccine makers to work with local pharma firms, PMAG to governments, and doses of AstraZeneca vaccine can protect for at least 90 days. Ghana Health Service calls for calm as efforts intensify to get more vaccines. And non-food prices keep inflation outside target band again. Pandemic provides litmus test for banks' digital strategies is coming from the EcoBank Executive Director. And there's an apology and retraction. They said in the BNFT April 13 edition, the paper reported a story under the headline, AstraZeneca vaccine first dose protection can last up to 11 months. And so the paper wants to use this opportunity to retract this mistake and apologize to the head of the National Immunization Program at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwame Amponsa Achiano, for misquoting his interview. I guess it's in the right direction. The back page has this story about Cowbank post profit of 213 million cedis despite economic contraction. And that is on the back page of the BNFT.
Okay, so there are some critical stories that we're going to be looking at in the next few minutes, right before we wrap. I'll start with page 20 of the Daily Graphic newspaper, and this is something we're actually delving into this morning on the AM show. 16 lives lost in 3 accidents, and 16 people died in 3 separate accidents in 3 different parts of the country between last Saturday and the dawn of yesterday. The bloodiest of the accidents, which claimed 13 lives, occurred at Alipa near Yape in the central Gonja municipality in the Savannah region last Tuesday. In the other accidents, 2 persons died when a Mercedes-Benz 207 crashed into a faulty Togolese registered articulated truck parked in the middle of the road at Tesano in Accra dawn yesterday, while in Cape Coast, very sad one, a 19-year-old level 100 Bachelor of Commerce student of the University of Cape Coast, Priscilla Owusu-Echa, was knocked down by a speeding Mercedes Sprinter bus at Ayensudo. I hope I didn't murder that name, near the UCC satellite campus of the Undum School of Business. Hers particularly, I mean, there were other accidents which cost us many lives, but level 100, she just went to school and, you know, I'm sure there was, she had a whole life ahead of her, family expectant, I'm sure, and for her life to be snuffed out like that, terrible. But it appears, I don't know, Akabli, I don't know. We had our recent, Hotline documentary crashed. We've done all of these things, but I don't know what else it will take to reduce the carnage, because this year particularly, it's been pretty bad in this first quarter.
Yeah, January to March, 771. They've not updated the figures to add the 14, 15, some people say 16 that we are talking about. I mean, it's a whole, there's a lot of things. And it's worrying because I remember many years back, Obo was singing about the road safety campaign. I mean, people were dying.
Even long before that, Lord Kenya,
exactly.
Drivers Susuko.
Drivers Susuko. So it's been with us for a long, long time, and we are losing human resource. And we don't know the quality of even the resource that we are losing, with the potential that it holds. This could be perhaps the young one who is coming in to find coming up with some technology that will change our lives for good. That person is coming to change the lives of family people, coming to have children who will do great things. So we need to deal with this avoidable deaths. There's a whole lot of things. Look, drivers, you need to take your time sometimes. You know the things that we need to do to be safe. We just drive with careless
we take things
life
for granted. Some would refuse to use the seat belts until they see a police officer or something. But I think one thing that I see running through, we are very inconsiderate towards one another on our roads. When it's amber and everyone can go, you will see the real Ghanaian in people. When there's traffic, look, during the Easter, a lot of people had their cars scratched and the rest because when you do that, what does that say?
Then there are those who jump the red lights. It was evident in Seth Kwame Boateng's brilliant documentary, if you watched it, Motor Riders. And the light is red and they are crossing. Then the car runs into them. All those things are very unfortunate. And so the discussion will continue. There's an angle of it that we did on the 6 a.m. news this morning. The Road Safety Authority, they are talking about the controversial towing levy that was geared, because the Tesano one had to do with an abandoned vehicle that ordinarily, if there was a proper system in place, should have been taken off the road. But, I disagree with the levy in a form that was introduced in the past. I think the approach should be generally that there should be a number of a sort that when you see a car abandoned on the road, you could call, or there should be a regular checks of a sort. So in other places you go
to get it towed. I think I've seen some.
So in other places you go and take.
They are effective though.
The one, it should be in a manner that, so we see the car over there. I'm a police officer. I see the car. You call, then we tow the car away to a vehicle impound of a sort. So the car is kept there. Then when the owner comes looking for the car, because they are identifiable locations, you go over, you pay for the cost of taking the car from the place and also being kept at the facility for a certain number of days. instead of a flat levy that you impose on all cars, then now when you go and do your roadworthy or insurance or whatever, then you pay for it. That one is too much money for a private company of a sort. So that's why come people kicked against it in the past, because they were asking how many cars will break down on the roads, among other things. Right. But there should be this system that I believe is a more workable and more acceptable to road users and drivers for that matter.
MTN is blocking 7,000 agents. The reason being that they are not observing the new protocols to check people's identity. And they're also saying a further layer of security will be applied, where the agents will see the details of the owner for the wallet, for them to match the ID to the wallet details. So more measures. And they are talking about the fact that these 7,000 agents breached the protocols, but a total of 250,000 agents made transactions since the new system was actually applied. So it appears...
So they made transactions without going according to the new system?
So 250,000 have made it since the application of the new protocol. Okay, 7,000 agents failed to apply them, and they've been blocked.
Okay. I haven't done any transactions since it took off, so I'm unable to tell. But I mean, let's see how it goes. I'm not too sure about whether it's the solution to the whole bit. I mean, it helps in identification in terms of who may have done a transaction. About whether it ends the fraud that we've seen in that space, I mean, only time will tell with the results that will come out from its implementation.
Well, let's check out maybe a story from your end before we wrap.
There's a story about a policeman in trouble for assisting a British to escape from lawful custody. It's a story by my good friend Malik Suleimana. A police detective, Lance Corporal Kwame Edu Asabre, who allegedly forged official documents to assist a convicted British to escape from lawful custody, has appeared before the Accra Circuit Court. And so we are told that he's stationed at the Criminal Investigations Department headquarters, Accra. He was charged with 3 counts of forgery of official documents. So the court heard that the police detective handed over passport of the convict, which was in the custody was in the police custody to Davis to enable him travel back to the United Kingdom. Okay, that's interesting. And so he pleaded not guilty to all the charges and against him. So Inspector Dixon said the case of defrauding by false pretense before Davis was referred to the accused for investigation. And so this is an accused person who was under investigation. The investigator had access to his passport. Then the investigator decides to give the passport back to him. Then he escapes, and so he has left the jurisdiction now, and so
call it a comedy of errors, but someone's head has to roll.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, this is all time will allow us to do, but right before we go, a happy birthday to Anita Ayi. Anita Ayi. On your 25th birthday, we pray that your steps will continually shine brighter into a perfect day. We love you, and it's from Na Nishika and Oba. So Anita Ayi, do have a wonderful birthday. Stay with us. We have more coming your way. Sports is up next on the AM Show.